After 5 years, the interest rate has increased to J2 equals 8%. What's the size of our new payment? So what's happened here is 5 years have gone by. 5 years have passed, which means that I have 20 years left. And my new present value is actually going to be, well, this number, $144.12.28. Don't worry so much about the decimal and rounding here. If you're sticking with the same bank, you don't have to do an intermediate rounding step. But if you take your mortgage over to another bank, you would. What I'm going to do is take this and just press PV. And now, if we look over here, recall present value is exactly what I want it to be. That's going to be my new mortgage. So all we have to do is fill out the exact same table. We know that our present value is how much money we owe. Our interest rate has increased to J2 equals 8%, and we're still going to make monthly payments. We have 20 years left, so that's 240 payments. We're going to try to find our payment. At the end of those 20 years, hopefully we have paid everything off. Again, this is an ordinary annuity. So let's look at this. Our PYCY are the same as they should be, but now we only have 240 months left, but our interest rate is 8. Our future value is the same. We've reset our, let's make sure that future value is 0. So let's compute our new payment. Our new payment is going to be $11.63.12. Here, we're going to assume that we're going to have to round up. So I'm going to re-enter that. So let's put that in, 1163.2, oops. Let's make that our new payment. And just to check, I recompute the N and I get just under 240. That's what I was looking for. $11.66. That is just wrong. Oops. Let's re-enter that payment with the rounded amount. 1163.12, and that's negative. Let's press payment. There we go, and recompute our N. Our N is now just under 240, which is what we want it to be. So we're going to always round up and re-enter. And now we know our new payments. Let's go ahead and update our Excel sheet. So our Excel sheet now says this is $11.63.12. Let's press enter, and then let's just spread this down. Make sure that it stays the same. Sometimes Excel starts to count upwards. That's probably enough because we're only doing this for a year. Let's go back to that 60 years, and now we can see that we're paying this differently. Of course, I have to change my interest rate as well, so let's just stop doing this in Excel. Let's do it again. 5 years later, the interest rate stays the same, but we can actually afford an extra $12,000 on the mortgage. Assuming we will amortize the balance over the remaining 15 years, what is the payment? So what I'm going to do is put in an extra payment. So we're going to use the amortization again and figure out what happens after 5 years. One thing to remember, the calculator doesn't remember the first 5 years. Those have been wiped out. It thinks it's a 20-year notebook. So P1 equals 1 and P2 equals 60. So we're doing exactly what we did in the last step, except now our balance is less. 122,671.40. But we're also going to pay some money. That's an extra $12,000 that we can afford to pay. So if we can afford to pay an extra $12,000, Now it's only $110,000. I'm going to go ahead and make that the present value. So now I'm looking at a 15-year mortgage that starts at $110,000. Our payment is what we're going to be computing, but again, we're going to pay it off, and it's always an ordinary annuity. I'm making monthly payments, it's compounded semi-annually, and our interest rate stays at 8. That many months, 15 times 12, is going to be 180 months. So let's go ahead and work that out. Second PY is 12 and 2, that stays the same. Let's change our N to 180. Our present value I've already changed. Our IY stays the same. And so all I have to do is compute the payment, which is now $1,049.34, because remember, we're rounding up. And I'm going to go ahead there and re-enter. Negative payment, and now I recompute the N, and it's just under 180, which is exactly what I want to do.